So this is my collectibles collection to date, give or take. I'm not including my more modern pieces in here. So what you can see in front of you is my array of old Dinky, old Corgi, a few Matchboxes, a few Jerry Anderson pieces as well, who I can't recall actually who made these, but there's a stingray and a terrorfish in here, and really, I'm just having a look really to see what I've got so far and what else I might like to get, because I'm going to go for a little trek around a few places tomorrow just to see what they've got and whether they'd be good prospects for things going forward. I mean, the thing is, you could just buy stuff like this, and indeed I have, bought stuff from eBay, because eBay is a purveyor of all things of all time, basically, that people no longer want. But it's not really quite as interesting as going around places and just seeing what's there, because you don't know what else you might see that you hadn't really thought about. So I just thought I'd take you through what I've got so far, really, to give you an idea of sort of what my thinking is, and just so you can have a look, really, as much as anything else, because this is actually the first time I've gathered them all in one place to actually just kind of have a look at them, because I don't actually have. You can see over here, I've got sort of my Star Trek Eagle Moss models are, well, not just Star Trek, of course, it's Battlestar Galactica and Aliens and all sorts of bits and bobs, but they're all sort of nicely tucked away in that cabinet. But I don't actually have any other cabinets free now to put anything else in, so I need to think about how I'm going to display all of these. The Corgi Juniors, the small stuff, have been lurking in one shelf of one of the cabinets, but that's kind of at capacity now. So these larger pieces that I'm getting, like the UFO Interceptor, I simply do not have room for at the moment. But let me show you what I've got so far. So little Sequest DSV figure that I picked up just recently. That was a random pickup, but I like the series, so I got it. And I am that sort of collector. I'm collecting ones that I'm interested to have a look at because they have some history. And I'm getting the ones that I had when I was little because they have personal history. And then I'm just buying other ones that I'm generally interested in. So, for example, you can see here on the right hand side, I've got a Dinky Space Cruiser, and then Dinky Eagles from Space 1999, and Dinky UFO Interceptor from the TV series UFO. I've got a Zygon Patroller. I've got all sorts of bits and bobs from Dinky because they stand the test of time. They are incredibly hard wearing, and as a result, you see them everywhere. They are still very much in existence because of the way they were put together. And you can see the Enterprise and the Klingon battlecruiser there. And they're actually by far and away the biggest Dinky models I have, I think, despite them coming relatively late in the day. Now, you also see a couple of rogue Star Wars figures here. Got a Chewie and a Boba. Chewie I picked up a little while ago, just randomly. Boba more recently, and he's a bit loose, but he's okay. But these two are the only ones in my collection that were actually originally mine. So here we have a rather nice die-cast plastic mix of a snow speeder. And as you can see, they have little sort of figurines in them. And it's still got its landing gear, but unfortunately its blasters at the front there have long since been somewhat curtailed. But it's still got the little harpoon gun that rotates at the back of it. And I've had those for donkey's years. One of the few things that didn't get gotten rid of. And they are die-cast as well. I got this rather sort of battered / play-worn, I think you'd call it, twin pod from Bespin. So there's that. This big beast here is an Alpha Probe. And I got this to try and figure out if it was something that I was thinking of, because it has this very sort of orangey interior. And I had this really sort of early childhood memory of an orangey inside spaceship. But I don't think I ever had it. I think a friend had it. But it was like really early, and I'm still not quite convinced that it was that. Got some of my Jerry Anderson collection here. Let's see, Captain Scarlet, Angel, Fighter, Stingrays, little pullback Thunderbird 2, but I've got loads of Thunderbird 2s upstairs. They're kind of a split between myself and my son, really. Adventure 2000 from Matchbox, he says from memory. I'm saying it was Matchbox. They are Matchbox, aren't they? Yeah, because and then that was this one's a Battle King rather than Adventure 2000, but that's pretty cool. It still works, like that. And it's got missiles as well, at least 2, which isn't bad going. Corgi Starfighter, and then Corgi Junior's various, the Joker, the Batmobile, Esprit, and then some the Spider-Man van and the Superman van, and the Superman vehicles up there as well. Spider-Man chopper, then a couple of Ertles, the A-Team van and kit, and then it's really. I was just thinking about this, and it occurred to me today that the GoBots here, this chap and Scooter and the Rock Lord here, who is in Brimstone, they are a mix between metal and plastic, and in a sense they're kind of a bridge, I suppose, for the transition from die-cast models like the Dinky toys into the more modern sort of plastic-driven era. Because when you look at the Transformers that are sat behind them, so that's just Brawn and Cosmos there, the G1 Transformers were predominantly, I think it's fair to say, plastic. Whereas the GoBots actually still have some weight to them and still feel pretty sturdy. And the GoBots that I've got there have clearly been pretty well looked after and are in good nick. But when you do see, Brawn's missing an arm, because he was only cheap. But you do sort of wonder whether or not, we'd still be better off having actually metal toys. I don't know. I haven't got this one out, but this is being advertised as die-cast metal. So perhaps Batman's the exception to the rule there, because that was a relatively late one, because it's based on the animated series, that particular Batwing. So it's quite a nice little collection as it stands. And I say this isn't quite all of it. I've got a couple of other things that are boxed and things that I think I would like to get at the moment. I don't have any Dinky Thunderbirds toys. Dinky did quite a lot of Anderson tie-ins. So as you can see, the Space 1999 and UFO represented here. But they did do Thunderbirds as well. They also did Joe 90. And I haven't got any of them. So I might look around and see if I can find any examples of those that are in reasonable condition. Captain Scarlet. I'm not so fussed about Captain Scarlet. I never really had a thing for Captain Scarlet as a series for some reason. I never really got into it. I'm not quite sure why. I guess the thing is, when he's indestructible, he's kind of indestructible. It's like, he's going to make it to the next episode, so there's no real suspense from that point of view for me. But anyway, but I'm doing pretty well on my Corgi Juniors front. I've got a decent selection of them at this point. And the Adventure 2000s I might try and complete the set of, because that's a fairly finite set. I could even try and get the Sequest DSV figures, because they're a pretty finite set as well. But I'd quite like to get a Blue Eagle. I've never had one of the blue freighter eagles. Very similar to the white ones, they just happen to be blue. But for the sake of completeness, it'd be quite nice to get one of those, because I've got some of the more recent Eagle Moss examples, and I wouldn't mind getting the sort of I think they're Product Enterprise ones. They're really nice as well. They're a little bit, I think they're a bit bigger. So it'd be nice to get a selection of those to sort of round off my my Eagles collection. And as for other things, I don't know really. Maybe a few more G1 Transformers. Now, I have actually got a Battle Beast that I haven't put on here, but I might get a few more Battle Beasts as well. They were good fun when I had them. So yeah, there are a few other bits and bobs that I'd be interested in finding, and obviously I've got a few of the usual suspect type places where I might be able to find things like that. But really, it's just I'm just sort of thinking whether or not I have any real sort of grail pieces left, because I've got Starbirds, of course. I've got Starbirds coming out my ears actually. I tried to sell one the other day, but they weren't interested in it apparently, because it wasn't really worth enough. Which I get, because they're going off the eBay prices, and that's one way to do it, I suppose. It's whether or not you can actually shift them, I guess. So maybe it'll go back on eBay. I don't know. But again, those are the sorts of things I'm getting because they're personal to me. I think that's probably as important as anything else, really, because what I'm conscious of in picking up these things is I'm doing it for my own interest, really, as much as anything else. It's just a hobby, you know. But I am of a certain age, and so are many other people, undoubtedly, where you kind of wonder who's going to be collecting this stuff in a few years' time, because the next generation coming through, this stuff won't really mean anything to them, because they didn't grow up on stuff like this, like I did. Space 1999 won't mean anything to them. Stingray won't. Buck Rogers won't. And in fact, most of it will be condemned as being not woke, and therefore, just completely sort of off the record. It might even get cancelled. It's an interesting cultural shift, ironically, you see, things like Star Trek will probably do all right, because that was very optimistic science fiction, and therefore represents a lot of sort of what modern thinking would consider acceptable. So, Star Trek will probably do fine. It's just other shows that'll suffer off the back of it, probably, but we'll see. So, so there are a few of these that I haven't done individual videos on yet, which I might well do in due course. Might need a little bit of research first. But other than that, as I say, tomorrow I'm going to go out and visit a place I have been before, but also investigate a place I haven't been before. My time's a bit limited, but I'm going to see what I can do. And then, just think about where I go from there, really. So just thought you might be interested in having a look at what I've gathered to date. I've only really been doing this for a couple of years now, on and off, because the green Eagle Transporter I picked up, I think just as COVID was starting to bite, or perhaps in one of the interludes. That was something I was particularly interested in, because I had sort of, I had Eagles like that when I was little. So those are literally just replacements, apart from the fact that the Eagle Transporter is a much older edition compared to one that I had. I had one like the white one, where you had the red thrusters, but the silver thrusters mean it's older. But I definitely didn't have this quite early box, so it's nice to have a box for that one as well. That's a nice thing to have in the collection, certainly. So there it sits at the moment. So I will report back on my journeys tomorrow, assuming all goes to plan. There's always that, and please do like and subscribe to the channel, because taking my cartoons off it, the old watch hours are decidedly lower than they were. So hence the attempt to try and do a little bit more filming of late, and just sort of keep producing content so I can get my watch hours back up. So thanks for having a look, and cheers for now.